and welcome to our Sunday support session. This is week number 5, I believe, and tonight it is all about building your brand. So if you're watching live, please say hi. I can see your comments. And if you're watching later on, you can always catch up. We've got it all in a section of Midlothian Creative, so you can go back and look at the previous episodes. Obviously, you can't interact, but I will see it if you comment. Um, and yeah, please say hi and let us know if it's useful to you. I have absolutely no words tonight. I am so sorry. I'm a little bit hungover, but I'm mostly suffering terribly from the hay fever tonight. I don't know whether anybody else has seen it, but I've had to chow down 2 antihistamines and I'm all choked. So apologies in advance. Um, you can ask any questions you have here throughout it. I'll see them on the comments. And as I say, please do say hi. I see that we've got 6 out there. It'd be lovely to know you're there. Um, and I am struggling with the words tonight. So you are on Made in Midlothian. If you don't know yet, Made in Midlothian is a community organisation celebrating the creative arts. And what we've got on this week is we've just had our weekly art exhibition, goes up on a Friday night, and the theme is expectations. So you can look back, there's a video there on the submissions of people, things that people, art that people have created for it. Um, and the next week's theme, and it's the last theme, which I keep thinking it's the last theme, and it's not. The last theme is resilience. So we're really looking forward to seeing what you come up with for that. We've also just announced that our next exhibition is already in its planning stages, and we're really proud to be supporting the Black Lives Matter movement. And so our next exhibition is going to be all about the themes around that and exploring how we feel about it. And as a community creative arts organization, we think we've always historically been the drivers of social change, and Made in Midlothian want to be on the right side of history for that and be the instigators and um, support. So I'm really proud as an organization to be announcing that. Um, we've also got the Midlothian Makers Market. So there's a whole group that you can sell your wares in and you can buy. We have late night shopping and it's last chance to get a Father's Day present. So it's got hashtag Father's Day in it and you can search for that perfect Father's Day present. We've got My Music Monday this week, showcasing a local artist, and Mary Patterson's returning live next Saturday night. Coming in July, we're about to announce an exciting new community choir project with Karina Hewitt. And Tuesday nights, we've got Teddy and Doggy for the under sevens. So that's chapter 8, I think now. And these weekly support sessions. So we've got a fair bit going on at the moment. If you like what you see and want to help support the creative arts in Midlothian, I've attached our crowdfunder. Um, then it'll help us support more artists and put on more. The crowdfunder is all about raising funds to pay directly to artists to put on more for the community. Um, so, is anybody there? There's nobody there. It's very quiet tonight. There's apparently 3 people watching. If you could say hi, that's great. I'm now feeling a little bit self-conscious, like I'm talking to myself. Um, maybe you'll catch up later. So, you can ask any questions. It's really nice if we can, as makers, share our support systems, our success stories, and support that we've found or things that we are struggling with. So, if you have anything to add, it would be great if you could pop it in there. Um, I talking about branding tonight. So my branding, Chandra's here. Hi, Chandra. It's very quiet tonight, Chandra. Um, my branding. I thought I would start a little bit about my branding and what I have done there. So my branding is Yellow Door Studio, which is my studio, and It is a small home pottery studio. So I've got even got some props here. So this is my logo. I'm sure you will have seen it around. That's my business card. Not the best picture of it, but it's been done actually retrospectively. I can justify it quite well because my branding is um, represents me, and that's really important. It is literally our front door. That's what our front door looks like. So it is really homely, and that is a part of myself as a brand as I create homewares and in a home pottery studio. And it's quite genuine. I'm not pretending to be a home potter and actually working out of a factory. It is what it looks like. And I think it works out as reasonably professional. And part of the way that I do make it professional is using it a lot. Um, and I'm going to talk about a bit of that later. But this is, for example, one of my dog bowls. And I struggled for a really long time about putting my brand on the outside of things. So you'll see I've got Yellow Door Studios stamped into my dog bowls there. And I felt really self conscious about it for a long time. And I think there is something, and again, I've got it on a sprig mold on my mugs. There is something about, hi Bernadette, yeah, the hay fever's shocking. Um, there is something about putting your brand on things and being confident enough to accept that that adds value to people. So for a long time, I felt like I was, it didn't, why would anybody want my brand on things? And actually telling yourself and taking yourself seriously that you have that desire, that what you are giving people want, and people want to be able to say, yes, look, I support this maker. Hi Adele, lovely to see you. um, Adele does some amazing love local boxes, gift boxes. So she's just done up her Father's Day ones, which actually have some of my key rings in them, which is lovely. Um, Thanks so much for that, Adele. I love a good bit of networking. We're starting to get there with Made in Midlothian. I think it's really coming along. So that's a little bit about my branding. I've just realized I've printed out an unedited version of this. So I thought I'd start a bit with why should you brand yourself? Um, and the answer is that you do regardless. As a business, branding is just really the first thing people see and their recognition of your company. So, of course, you've got to brand yourself. It doesn't mean you have to have a logo stamped over everything, but you do need to have some um, recognize brand recognition. And part of that is reducing the mental work for customers. So when they see a sales post that you've put up, they don't have to go, what is that? Who is that? Where is it made? How is it made? Does it line up with my ethics? Um, and all of that work, how expensive is it? All of your brand says all of that. It gives your reputation is in your branding, whether it's you're renowned for being quality or handmade or local. All of those things come across in your branding. So it's really important. And that mental workload that people have to do when you're looking down your Facebook feed, I do it all the time. And I hate to admit that I do it, but I do because people are really lazy. They will brush past something the second they'll look at it and go, what is it? And if that question isn't answered within, you know, probably seconds, they'll switch off. And that is part of a lot of things that we've talked about your clear messaging. But your brand really does do so much of that work if you have it consistent and clear. And in the long run, it really reduces your workload because you don't have to keep communicating that to your customers and to your support networks and fan bases and that. It lets people know what your priorities and your values are when they first look at it. And the next time they see it, and every time they see it, it does build that. And if you have any questions on that or comments, please go ahead. These are my ramblings. Yeah. So please go ahead. um, and so I thought I'd just say a little bit about some of the easiest ways to brand yourself. In many ways, is just really simple, identifiable, unique logos. And so that's quite a niche to make, but it isn't as hard as you think. It is quite, um, there's lots of things you can do. My husband actually just sketched over a picture of our front door and put Yellow Door Studio on it, and that was all it needed. And all the things that I put along with that really pushed that out. But obviously, a logo is one of your first starting points. Um, so being really consistent is so important. So there are all different marketing strategies for this, but really simple ones are using the same colors, the same texts, um, the same font, and the same sort of images and the messaging as well. So if your sales posts always start off with Yellow Door Studio, bespoke hand thrown functional pottery, and there's a small bit of chat up there, people that know you can skip that and get to the main bit of your post. And then being able to skip that and get to it means you'll hold on to more people. And really, all you need to do is get one person through to the sale point. But that one person starts as, possibly hundreds, and they get stripped away as they come up against blocks of why they won't buy something. Um, so yes, colors. What else have I got? The same images. If you think about it, people need to be able to recognize that it is you and your business straight away. And all those things you do really do help and add to it. Um, Made in Midlothian's brand, yes, Chandra is pointing out, it is a simple M. It wasn't, I mean, Chandra did make it and it was very grateful and everything else, but it wasn't rocket science to make. She put it into, and I'm going to have a little spiel about this later, but she just put it into a simple program called Canva. And there are logo creators everywhere for that sort of thing. And of course, you can pay somebody to do it, and it's not wasted money because it is a really important thing and they do know what they're talking about. But most importantly is actually putting your brand out there, regardless of what it is. Getting it right in the first place is great. The more you can convey in that logo, the better. But you've then got to put it out there. So, as I said earlier, I put my brand on everything, and it took me a long time to feel like that added value to a product. But it does, and people want to show that they're supporting local makers and things like that. So, um, be proud of it, of your brand. And that's, a common theme through all these videos is take yourself seriously, believe in yourself, believe that your work has value, and other people will too. And um, what else have I got? That yes, your packaging is also part of your brand as well. So when people are gifting things, my packaging is all recycled and really quite poor in presentation sometimes. I do sometimes do gift wrapping with little labels, but mostly that's actually part of my brand is being ethical and environmentally friendly and recycling. And so you really need to make sure throughout your logo, your messaging, all of those things translate into one idea, um, and one sort of simple message of buy here and you are buying these things. Um, so, where are we up to? The last thing is, though, is that brands aren't everything. So, it is a very fine line to go too far because large companies spend a lot of money being personable. And that's one of the reasons why, if your brand and your work and yourself all match up, it is so makes all these things so much easier to convey. And I've talked about a little bit about in my previous videos, and I can't think which ones. I'm sorry, you might need to watch them. My brain is out. The hay fever is so bad. Um, so, I mean, so the other thing I was going to say is part of branding is often the look of something from the start, and it actually doesn't have to be all about logos. Sometimes your branding can be your style, and as an artist, it's perfectly okay for that to be your brand. There's some really good examples of people that have created a beautiful sort of style that is so clearly theirs. And they're very single-minded. Hi, Donna. Nice to see you. Very single-minded sort of people that make a lot of one thing or a lot of one design. And that is also another way to brand your work. So Sandra Vick does it, who's one of our, she's Pennycook based, and she does lots of ceramics and other things, but it's all printed birds that are sort of shadows of birds, and it does convey the whole brand really well. Liz Crombie is another really good example of somebody who's gotten their brand in their style, and you can just see it and you know that that's been done by that person. And I was also going to mention Susan Cohen, who's one of our Bookfest authors, who is lovely, but she's got the Wee Book Company, and it is all the way through in all her branding, and it is all very her as well. Um, and that style can keep it personable whilst also branding. So what else have I got here? I've got to look at my sheet. Sorry, I waffle on too much otherwise. Um, oh yes, I was going to say, I think I already covered it, but I do have here that with that branding and that logo and those messages and the fonts and then your style and yourself, the most successful people I see, all of those things go together and they're all very representative of themselves as a whole. And that's partly being really true to yourself and what you're making is really helpful. Make for yourself, and it is much easier to sell it. So I've got some of the tricks of the trade. If anybody has any questions, please go ahead, give me questions, stop me waffling on. um, but I shall go on anyway. Tricks of the trade. So one of my favorite tricks of the trade, taught to me by the wonderful Chandra, was Canva. Oh, was it Chandra or Julie? I'm not sure now. Canva. So Canva's a really easy to use, simple app. You just download it and it puts images together for you. But what it does is that you can have the same colors. In the free version, you're limited to like two colors and, bits like that. But it can make sure you use the same colors and the same fonts throughout your images. And it does do a lot of that work for you. So we've got Made in Midlothian have their heading fonts, their subheading fonts, is all the things I really haven't done for my own business and really should do. Um, they've got it all lined up of what their branding is to look like, and it works, and I think it's very recognizable, and that's the whole point. And Canva has actually been a really, really useful tool for that. You'll see loads of our different images are made up with it. Yes, Chandra is saying you can create a brand kit. Yeah, and a brand kit is one of the ones I think that you have to pay for, but that's what it's about. Is it's about creating these things that you use, and those are the only things you use. Sorry, 2 seconds. Such dry throat. So, um, another thing is, and I've talked about this before, but having your elevator pitches and your taglines and having, you want to have several in the different amounts that you are saying about yourself and where you'll use them. But it's really easy once you create those taglines, it makes it so much easier to just copy and paste them into everything else, and people recognize it. And as I say, people are lazy, it makes it easier for them. um, and they want to skip past anything they can and go, yep, I know that. I do it all the time. Um, so yeah, another thing you can do is there's lots of companies like Vistaprint that do things like stickers. obviously your business cards, and I've mentioned before, things that people can't throw away are great. So Tom Cooper, New Battle woodworker, woodturner, who is lovely, who I'm hoping to get on for interviews soon because he's great. Um, he was saying that instead of business cards, he swapped to a threefold pamphlet, and it was so much more successful because people didn't just throw it away, and it was about taking himself seriously for that too. So, you know, part of sort of getting stickers made up is taking yourself seriously and embracing that brand and that identity. And you can get things like stamps as well. Stamps are great if you're using things like I use a lot of Amazon paper. Um, and you can just get a really simple stamp made up that you can stamp onto that, and it saves a lot of money, especially as opposed to stickers, although obviously you can use stickers as sellotape, and that's quite handy. But yeah, just incorporate your branding into all parts of it and as much as you can. And merchandise is also another really obvious one. So I do little Yellow Door Studio fridge magnets that go really well. They're a little bit to make up, they're a little bit of work, but they also fill the holes in the kiln. And if you can make something that isn't too much for you, but I think it's really nice when people get a little extra thing. But most importantly, and I've seen this in a lot of my friends' houses, I hope that's the case everywhere. I think most people keep them. I don't like the idea of making rubbish that, goes in the bin, but the little fridge magnets, you see them in people's house. I've seen them in people's houses, and it takes a lot to remember that there's a potter out there who can make a bespoke, when you're thinking, what should I get such and such? It's not something that immediately comes to mind. So every time they go to the fridge, there's a chance they might go, oh, yeah, actually, that thing. And that brand recognition and that reminder that you're there is really important. And that is where merchandise comes in. But really, branding is all about bringing all those elements of your business and yourself and all the reasons why people should support you into one thing. Um, so yeah, and it's much easier to bring that all into one thing if it is all synchronized. And that's kind of about building it up and making sure that, for example, if you are doing something that's really environmentally friendly, you've got that shown in it. And that can be really simple messages, just using a green leaf or you know, there's ways to do that. And again, there are loads of professionals out there, and it doesn't cost as much as you think it does to get a logo made up. It really doesn't. Um, I think there's some people that are doing them for like 30 quid, and they're, you know, professionals. Yes, Chandra is pointing out that branding should tell your story, and it should, and that's part of it all coming together. But yeah, it is telling your story. It's saying that you are this by supporting you. You are supporting a young startup or oh, I've got no words tonight. I really don't. um, but yeah, so that's pretty much my spiel done. I've got a little. That's pretty much my spiel done. I think all the important points are covered. I'd love to know if you've got any questions at all. There's 11 of us now. There's a few of you out there. Come on, hit me, challenge me. Don't ask me anything awkward. Challenge me professionally. Or just what is working for you. I've shared a little bit about what's working for me there, and that's, fridge magnets and merchandise, but also being proud of it and putting it on things. Um, and I would love to know, has anybody had any experience of that? Is there anything that's really working, or is there anything that you're finding really difficult? It is great to share it on here, because it helps other people as well. I know I have learned everything I know about pottery just about from Facebook. And I know that sounds ridiculous. I did years of classes, but actually, Facebook is the thing that has taught me everything, because people post, I'm in lots of pottery groups, and people post their problems. And sharing your problems can help so many people. Um, and one of the problems I had at the start was that I felt really shy about my brand, and I felt really shy about taking myself seriously and putting myself out there, and I still do. I just do it. Much like I still feel ridiculously shy about these sessions and slightly silly sharing them, and sometimes like a total phony. I still just do it, and that's, probably the biggest lesson I would say to anybody is just say yes and work it out later. Just do it and never watch them back ever. I would never do these if I watched them back. Um, yes, that's it from me. I see we've got a few more people coming on too. I mean, please, if you're coming on now, ask your questions now or forever hold your peace. I'm looking forward to next week, I have to say. So next week, Chandra says, occupy the space you deserve. It's, yeah, it's a hard one. I mean, we all say these things to ourselves. Oh, Kathy says she loves my holly leaf pin that Donna gave her for Christmas. It's a great idea. Yeah, I do lots of little things, and I think that's part of your brand can show how much things are as well. And I didn't put that. Um, so yeah, having little things is really important, and they're easy and quick and fill up the kiln. So I do a lot of things like that that are quite different from everything else I do, and I should focus more, but people seem to like them. Adele says having an online community is great, and she's glad to have found this group. Thanks, Adele. That's so helpful to hear. Um, we are really trying to build a community because I think in the next few months we're going to need it. There's some tough times ahead, I fear, in our economy, but I think there's some really, really positive things that the cottage industries particularly can have a lot of hope for, because big factories aren't operating. Importing is going to start getting more expensive, and we're still here and we're still making, and people want to support us and people want to support the local economy. So I think we can make it through, and I think if we all band together and create our communities together, we can do it. Um, in which I should say, thank you for coming. It's great to have you here. And please, if there's anything I can cover that will help, I'm hoping next week we have Good Money. So, Good Money is all about creating an ethical business and why ethical businesses succeed. Um, and yes, so there's a lovely book by Jonathan Self. Jonathan Self, yes, who did Honey's Dog Food, and he's absolutely lovely. And he wrote a book called Good Money about it, and it is really a brilliant read. It's really short. It only takes a couple of days, but it's so useful, and it's got an amazing array of facts as to why successful businesses are ethical. Um, and so I'm looking forward to covering that because I try to do a lot of that myself. So I will see you next week. Oh, and Chandra says the little guy will save the day. I think we will, and I think the third sector and the smaller businesses are actually the ones doing stuff right now. The big businesses are all still shut down and furloughed because it takes a lot of time to change and maneuver around into a position where you can succeed in the current settings, and small businesses have the ability to do that. So there's a lot of hope. The little guys will save the day, and hopefully we'll be able to help you do that. So join me next week for Good Money, and thank you so much for coming. All right. Bye, everyone.